Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I'm your host tonight. My name is Nick Walsh, and I'm here with my good friend, my pal, who we just finished up our weekly wrestling gossip as we prepared for this podcast. He seems to be having a great time over there. I'm here with Vinny Gonzalez. Vinny, what's going on, dude?
What's up, Walsh? I'm happy to be here finally on a preview so I can get some stuff wrong like everyone else has been doing lately. So it's good to be here on this instead of being angry on the recaps.
Yeah, no, I've been Mr. Preview so far because I've been playing tennis after work on Tuesdays when we record the recaps, and like I'm gonna have to stop doing that soon, because of daylight savings time and getting dark and shit, and I just like don't want to do it yet. So I'll do some recaps at some point, but until then, I'm Mr. Preview, I guess. So it's been fun, and I'm glad to have you here today because we got a fun slate of week four games. But before we get into week four, I want to let you guys know that we are here thanks to Auction Draft. And while the NFL season may have officially kicked off, your hopes of drafting a fantasy team for 2018 isn't gone. Because with Auction Draft, you can draft your team at any time and have a 5-week season with your friends. That way, when you pay too much for Le'Veon Bell, hoping he shows up, you'll get another shot to get it right in 5 weeks. So you can sign up now by going to letstalkfantasyfootball.com/auction draft. Use that promo code LTFF and save 50% on your league. So, Vinny, we do have a lot to get to tonight. This will be part one of the week four preview. This should be dropping Thursday morning, and we should have part two dropping Friday morning. But just so you guys know that the teams on the buys this week are the Panthers and the Redskins. Overall, I don't think this has too much of a fantasy impact. Vinny, you want to go through some of these players that you might have to replace this week real quick?
Definitely like McCaffrey, Cam, a couple guys riding Alex Smith in deeper leagues. Jordan Reed fellows. We'll have to stream to some tight ends. Holy shit! Way to kick this off.
We're not even drunk yet.
I know. I'm just stumbling like an ass. Streaming some tight ends, so we'll throw in some guys you could pick up as well for that. I'm trying to think. Maybe some Funchess guys out there, but yeah, first two teams not too bad, but I think guys like McCaffrey are pretty rough to replace because he's been excellent. And running backs have been very sketchy. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, McCaffrey's been a fucking bell cow and potentially like the best bell cow or most reliable bell cow in the league so far this year, which is for great for those of us who drafted him. That's a humble brag by me. I drafted him in our big league. He's been probably the only reason that I have my one win in that league. But yeah, I mean the one position where I think you're not really affected much at all is wide receiver this week. The only guy who was, someone you would be starting was Funchess. The Redskins haven't really done much for wide receivers. So overall, not too bad of an impact for the first week of buys. Shouldn't be too hard to fill in those spots with guys who, at least have a solid chance of getting you some production. If you listen to the recap podcast, Shrek and Don should have covered that Vikings-Rams game for Thursday Night Football. I have not had the chance to listen to it yet, so I'm hoping they did.
They did indeed.
I do want to add one thing, or just throw in one thing. With the Rams outside cornersback likely to be missing for this game, Talib definitely out and Peters questionable. I think Nickel Roby-Coleman will stay in the slot, and I think it is Steph Diggs night to fucking go for like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns this Thursday. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I'm real ready. I put some money on the Vikings. I'm very excited. I think they're gonna win. I don't know, but I'm just rolling out all Vikings just because the defense is so injured. Even though their front is still wonderful for the Rams, but they're outside corners. That's huge for this game.
Yeah, big Kirk to Diggs game in my mind, but we'll see. I normally say things like that and then they don't pan out, but we'll try our best. We'll report back next week, or you guys can talk shit to us, whatever you want to do. That being said, Vinny, let's jump right into these games that it's our job to cover today. So the first one here is The Texans at the Colts. The Colts are favored by 1.5 points. And if you guys hear these lines and are like, those aren't the lines anymore, we got them earlier in the week. We didn't update our notes since then, so shut the fuck up. So anyway, the Colts are favored by 1.5 at this point. There's an over-under of 47. So we're looking at a pretty close game, not terribly high scoring based on what Vegas thinks. Vinny, let's start on the Texans side of the ball. Deshaun Watson has been pretty startable. What do you think about him and the pass catching options in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to roll them all out. I mean, Colts defense still isn't that great. They did bottle up Wentz last week a bit, but you could chalk that up to the weather. Wentz returning for his first game off, his multiple surgeries, all that shit. So I think Watson should be very serviceable. Has been having more and more good games strung together. So I think he's getting going on the season. So roll him out with confidence. Will Fuller, a dude that we absolutely do not understand, and I don't even care anymore. Just every week play. Dude's basically wide receiver 1B for the Texans, and roll him out as you should every single week. And DeAndre Hopkins, as usual, straight up.
Yeah, I mean, those are really the only options in the pass game. I will say that the Colts D has been, I think, might be a little bit underrated just based on their perception from previous years. They're currently 12th in Football Outsiders DVOA, which is way better than any of us expected. And if you think about it, they were pretty decent against the Redskins, pretty decent against the Eagles. So yeah, I think the Colts D might be a bit better than it has been in past years. So just keep that in mind. They're not like that auto play or like, oh shit, my guy's going to go off. At least to that point this year, things can change. But we'll see how it goes. I do still think Watson's a good start. He's currently 11th in fantasy points among quarterbacks. His rushing upside certainly does it. And the thing with Fuller, you mentioned him, how we didn't understand him at all. Now he's like got that like insane efficiency, and he's also getting like 10 targets a game. Like last year, we were like, fuck this, because he would get like 3 targets and have two catches for 2 touchdowns and 90 yards. And we were like, what the fuck is this bullshit? But now that Will Fuller is getting like 10 targets a game, he's an elite, roll him out there every single week, don't even think about it type of guy at this point. So yeah, I'm right there with you on him, obviously Hopkins. And then what do you think about Lamar Miller, who got a little bit more work in the passing game this past week with them down and having to chuck the ball around a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I own a lot of Miller, and he's very unexciting to own right now. And I find myself like switching up my teams a lot because I'm looking for upside plays, and Miller is definitely not an upside play. He's just there every single week. But he's also he's edging out Blue for sure in the backfield with like taking 76% of the running back snaps. But it's always so frustrating when they're moving into the red zone. You see Alfred Blue or Blue catching like a swing pass. Just like, come on, man, get the hell out of there. What are you doing? I don't know why they run Blue so much when Miller is a great pass catcher, as we know, but he might be more involved now that Bruce Ellington is, their primary slot kind of guy and is out for the year. I believe they put him on injured reserve yesterday or today. So maybe we'll see some more Miller action in the passing game, but he's definitely not a must play, but the Colts do give up a ton of points to the running back, as we've seen in the past. Wendell Smallwood just destroyed them last week. So if you have to play Miller, it's a good play, but his floor and ceiling are very close together.
Yeah, he's I think I described him last week as like the most meh player in the NFL, or at least the most meh guy to start in fantasy, where it's just like so unexciting. He's a fine start. That's about it. Let's move on to Indianapolis. The main story and what everyone's really talking about in Indianapolis is that they're really not throwing the ball downfield like they have in past years. Andrew Luck's average depth of target is way shorter than in past years, and it's completely because of his arm strength, and they're purposefully trying to do that. I don't know if you noticed this, Vin, but this past week at the end of the first half, they had like a little 2-minute drive at the end. They had Luck dinking and dunking up the field, and then they actually brought in Jacoby Brissett to throw the Hail Mary. And when they asked Luck about it after the game, he said, yeah, that was the right call. I don't know if I would have made the end zone from where we were on the field. So Andrew Luck not having the arm strength is a thing. they're not able to really zip it down the field like they used to, and they've become sort of this dink and dunk offense. So with that in mind, and knowing that the Houston Texans defense has been pretty bad against the pass this year, what do you think about Luck? I guess as sort of a stream. I don't think he's an every week start anymore, but as a stream. And then what about these pass catching options, assuming that Jack Doyle isn't going to go again?
Just to go back with the Jacoby Brissett thing, that was at like the end of the game when they needed it most. And like, what a shitty thing to reveal to the entire NFL that Andrew Luck cannot throw it that far in week 3. Like, dude, what are you doing with that? Just like run some lateral play or something like that, because they weren't even close. I mean, Jacoby Brissett actually launched it out of the end zone, but he just bombed it. But if Andrew Luck can't reach that shit, he's not going to reach it in a game on a T.Y. Hilton bomb that we have not seen this year. So it's incredibly telling to defenses, and I think the Texans are probably going to be very keen to that and playing to that throughout this game. So I think their defense might tighten up a bit against Luck, especially when he's limited. So I'm going to fade him this week. I don't love it at all. I think the pass rush gets to him as well with J.J. Watt finally, coming back into his own. And I'm not really loving Jack Doyle at all. Him coming back to this week if he does go. But if Jack Doyle's inactive and then Ebron's in again, he saw most of the snaps, I think 95% of the snaps out there for the offense. He dropped 2 touchdowns last week against the Eagles, so he should be much better, or at least hopefully we'll see those red zone looks continue. But that's pretty much what I got on the pass catchers there. And you're rolling out Hilton, but he has just big play potential at any time, catching a slant or whatever. But he's probably limited for the entire year if Luck can't get it done deep.
Yeah, I think Luck's an okay streamer this week. I don't love it, but I think he's a guy you can start. Hilton is the interesting thing with him, and it goes right along with what we're saying about Luck. His career average yards per catch has been around 15. This year it's around 10. So that they're having to use him closer to the line of scrimmage. But again, at any time he can take one of those and just run past the guy and see what happens there. So I don't mind Hilton. I think if Doyle doesn't go, I also like Ebron. Even though he didn't really give you the week you wanted, he did have 11 targets. Like you said, he dropped the 2 touchdowns. So the work was there. It just didn't work out. There's no one really else in the passing game. At this point, it's unclear if Marlon Mack is going to play. If he does, you don't play any running backs. And if he doesn't, you also don't play any running backs.
Yeah, don't play any of those dudes. We're still waiting for that to shake out in itself. Like, they don't even know who to play, but it's just the upside they have is so minimal.
They're all droppable too. Like if someone like
Yes.
Buck Allen is on your waiver wire, or like, someone with any sort of modicum of upside, feel free to drop any Colts running back. Who are you taking in this one, Vinny?
I'm going to take the Texans here and the under.
All right, I'm going to take the Texans as well, I think. I don't know. Let's take the over here. Let's make it a shootout.
Hey.
All right. Bills at Packers. The Packers are a 10-point favorite. I'm sure that that line would be larger if the Bills hadn't pulled off the fucking shock of the year last week. The over-under here is 45.5, so not particularly high either. But the big story coming into this was the Bills just crushing the Vikings, just forcing turnovers, getting up big early, getting a short field, and Josh Allen showing really more poise than anyone sort of expected this early in his career, getting some rushing touchdowns, and the Bills getting a fucking win over a team that we thought might be the best team in the NFC. What do you think about their fantasy potential this week?
No, man, I'm just not buying it. Like, I'm just trying not to like flip flop and like, because the Bills are still fucking awful, and I think they got very lucky last week with those 2 quick turnovers, completely buried the Vikings very quickly in like the first quarter. So I am just still not about them. I don't really think there's anything to glean out of it. Like, Josh Allen was serviceable. I don't even think he broke 200 yards.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like the shortest possible fields they could have had. It was the best situation that they could have been in. Obviously, a shocker came out, punched them in the mouth, caught them off guard. So I think it was just a perfect storm for the Bills. And, a terrible like George Clooney death, perfect storm for the Vikings. So it's just not something I'm buying into at all.
The
McCoy
camera,
should come back.
the camera's just zooming out as like the music plays and he's going under the wave or like it's just like Kirk Cousins and Harrison Smith just going under the wave together. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the whole team drowning on the boat. It was just awful. But yeah, I'm not buying shit from the Bills, dude. I think the Packers are going to wreck them. Packers are at home. I think the Packers defense is a great play. Whether the McCoy comes back or Allen is serviceable, like I don't give a shit. Bills suck.
Yeah, I'm like right there with you. McCoy, for what it's worth, says he is going to play. I think he was limited in practice today. I still don't really care. McCoy hasn't shown us anything. You know, Ivory had a good game this past week in like the absolute best game script that they could have possibly had. I'm not playing any pass catcher. I'm not playing Josh Allen. You know, Josh Allen was playable last week or turned out to be serviceable because of that rushing touchdown. I'm not banking on a Josh Allen rushing touchdown every week. I'm not banking on turnovers like the Bills got this past week. So, yeah, no Bills for me. Green Bay side of the ball. You know, Aaron Rodgers, since that first game where he like went nuts, he's kind of just been okay. It seems like this injury might be affecting him more than it did in week one. Do you have any interest in moving to a different quarterback from him, or if you took him, you're playing him?
Just dude, Rodgers is active. Roll him on your team.
Cool. In terms of the wide receivers, obviously Devontae Adams is a play. He's been, you know, the team leader in targets through 3 weeks. I think the interesting thing here, or the interesting question, I guess, is Randall Cobb. You know, he hasn't really had the production to match the looks he's getting, but he has 27 targets through 3 weeks. He's been in between 6 and 11 in all 3 weeks. And I'm sending out feelers in almost every league I'm in to try and trade for Cobb right now, because I think he's underperformed relative to the targets that he's gotten in an Aaron Rodgers offense. And I'm trying to catch people looking at his 4 catches for 30-something yards and a fumble and saying, I don't want him on my team, when in reality, 27 targets from Aaron Rodgers in 3 weeks is someone you absolutely want on your team.
Yeah, that's an interesting take, and probably definitely a guy who could get somebody pretty low right now, obviously. So good praying on the weak, Walsh. But you can certainly drum up a trade there. But I think Cobb is still a tough own, because he's one of those guys where you're like, God damn, like he could go off at any time, but realistically, he's not, you know, putting the production in for your fantasy team. Obviously through his first 3 weeks, but he does have that strange connection with Rodgers, obviously, and you know, a Packers offense. So the upside will always be there. It's just like, do you want that headache every single week? Like, I think if you're struggling at wide receiver and you just need like a 2 or a 3 to play every single week, Cobb is a great ad because you kind of have a force play there anyway. And then, you know, he always has that upside to go off.
Yeah. I mean, I look at 6+ targets from Aaron Rodgers each week and I'm like, yes, give me that. But I definitely, I know what you mean. He has been a bit disappointing early in this year, and I'm kind of betting on that changing. In terms of the other pass catchers, we've got Geronimo Allison and Jimmy Graham. Just for the sake of perspective, they each have Allison has 18 targets on the year. He's been in between 4 and 8 in every game. Graham has 19 targets. He has also been in between 4 and 8 in every game. I think Graham's an easy guy to roll out at tight end. Do you have any interest in Allison, or is he just kind of sitting on your bench for now?
I'm still going to bench Allison, I think. This could be a weird game where they don't necessarily need to throw it 40+ times, which is odd for the Packers, but I think I'm going to say he's a safe sit. I think you're going to want to look for more shootouts to roll out Allison.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're going to want to look for a closer spread and a higher over-under. If the Packers are in a game where it's like they're a 1-point favorite and the over-under is 53, like, and you have like people on bye, yeah, Allison's a good start, but not this week. let's talk about the running backs. It was kind of a three-headed monster in Aaron Jones's first week back. Do you have any interest in playing any of these guys, or is it kind of just stash on your bench until further notice?
It sucks because the game script is going to be positive for these guys, and one of them is going to have a good game. So it's tough because Jones is like buried on the depth chart at 3, but he was clearly the best running back and doing much better at pass protection. But the splits were like the worst thing ever. Williams had 43%, Montgomery 29, and Aaron Jones with 25%. So I'm just, if you're rolling them out there, you're hoping for a touchdown, which this would be the game to do it, but it's still risky to play any of those guys. So if you're playing Jamal Williams or Aaron Jones, I don't really think anyone's playing Montgomery, but he did get a lot of passing work, which was just odd. So they really just don't care, and they're using all 3 of these guys, all over the place, and it's very hard to read. And until one of these guys breaks out, which is probably going to be in a couple more weeks till they steady out and like winter starts coming here. But it's a tough call right now. But one of them's going to have a good game, and that's frustrating.
Yeah, to add some color to your snap percentages, Jamal Williams had 5 carries, 3 targets, 2 catches. Montgomery had 4 carries, 7 targets, 6 catches. And Jones had 6 carries, 1 target, 1 catch. But Jones also had the most rushing yards. So it's just like each one of them kind of has like their benefits and their cons. And none of the pros are really good enough to make them playable. Let's pick this one.
Packers under.
Yeah, same. Let's move on to Bucks at the Bears. We've got the Bears as a 3-point favorite. The over-under here is 46.5. We saw people were proclaiming the death of Fitzmagic in the second quarter on Monday night. They were calling for his death a little too early. He was on the cart going, "I'm not dead yet," and it proceeded to have a nice fantasy game for you. But Chicago has the number 1 ranked DVOA, but ranked by Football Outsiders so far this year. They're a very good defense. There's a reason that they are favored by 3 here. So assuming that Fitz plays here, because even though Winston could technically be active, I find it hard to believe that he would play in this game, particularly when they have a bye the week after and the chance to kind of get him more acclimated to everything if they do want to move back to him. But let's say you picked up Fitz this past week and you played him against the Steelers. Are you looking for a different option, or are you playing Fitz against the Bears?
I'm dropping him, man. I'm picking up somebody else. Andy Dalton. We'll get to that later, but yeah, I would rather play him. Possibly even Tannehill against the Patriots too. So I just don't like the matchup. I think they're going to get after Fitz. I think the Bears win this game just because of their defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. This is, this is easily the hardest defensive matchup that Fitz has had this year. He showed the first 2 games his efficiency was ungodly. And then this past week, his efficiency regressed, but he threw the ball 50 times. So it didn't matter for fantasy points or even for his total yards. This might be the game where he doesn't throw the ball 50 times and he doesn't have that kind of efficiency. I think he's a very bad start. That being said, we've got Mike Evans out there. He's on the field the most out of all these receivers. He has the most targets this year with 30. You're rolling out Mike Evans, right?
Yeah, Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson, because Kyle Fuller sucks, and he has a chance to break a big play, and one of these guys is going to be on him on the outside. So I picture one of them getting a long touchdown, and you should play both of them just because the Bucs have been so hot, and you can capitalize on Kyle Fuller big time.
Okay. I'm not on Jackson. The Bucs wide receiver like rotation is weird. Like the guy who's getting the second most snaps for this team is Adam Humphries at wide receiver, followed by Deshaun Jackson and then Chris Godwin. But Godwin had 10 targets. Deshaun Jackson had 5 this past week. Like it's really hard to predict who's going to do what in this offense based on usage, because the guys who have been the most efficient aren't the guys who are getting used the most. So I trust Evans. I don't trust anyone else. I think I'm starting to trust OJ Howard at the tight end, though. Went from 2 targets in the first week to 4 in the second to 8 targets this past week. We know he has big play potential. We know he has touchdown potential. I think OJ Howard's a guy that, until further notice, you can kind of roll out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, obviously they used Bray as like a distraction. That was his first catch of the year on the first drive for them there. So Bray will still be there, drawing some attention, whatever. But OJ Howard should be lined up for maybe not like a massive breakout season, but certainly a playable fantasy tight end week in, week out.
Yeah, I like that. Are you touching the backfield?
Nah, man, dude. Peyton Barber sucks ass. I
Yeah,
would
like
just get Ronald Jones in there. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Just like that guy sucks too, that we've seen from the preseason, but like it can't be worse than what they're doing right now. So
yeah,
you
Peyton
drafted this
Barber
guy,
is
get
getting
him
like
out there.
18 touches a game and like just doing jack shit with it. It's like
It's
if
awful.
you told me like, oh yeah, you own the running back who's getting 18 touches a game for like the most prolific offense in the NFL through 3 weeks, I would be like, oh sick, he's like a top 5 fantasy running back, and he is unplayable in fantasy. So who the fuck knows what's going on there? We'll see if they start factoring Ronald Jones in a little bit more, or even just anyone but Peyton Barber a little bit more. Um, on the Chicago side of the ball, really a great matchup for Mitch Trubisky. The matchup you would think kind of puts him in stream territory. Um, Streamatory.
I like that. It's a new word. I like it.
Yeah, you know what? Let's use that for now. He's in the streamatory.
Welcome to the streamatory.
um, the issue though with Trubisky is he hasn't been efficient at all. His adjusted yards per attempt are less than 5. That's fucking gross. I don't know. Do you have any sort of interest in Trubisky in this matchup?
I mean, I do. If let's say I would rather play Mitch than Fitz, straight up.
Yes.
So that pretty much draws the line for me right there. The matchup's just too good. It's a pretty good matchup. So I'm really liking it. It's just every time I watch Trubisky and like Matt Nagy's offense, I'm just like, why are they doing this? Come out more traditional. Stop doing these bunch sets and all this garbage, because like you have Mitch under center and they're running deep intermediate routes. That was contradictory. They're running, developing routes that take a while, and like he's under center and has to like drop back and find them. It's just not putting him in like a wonderful situation. So I hope they just start going back to traditional things, but I like Mitch in this matchup. I love Allen Robinson. I even like Taylor Gabriel just because they're both like Allen Robinson, far and away #1 wide receiver on this offense, almost 30+% of the target share. And then you have Taylor Gabriel, who's been like fluctuating between 28% and like 35%, which has been absolutely crazy. They target him so often.
Yeah, quietly has the same amount of targets as Robinson this year overall. The issue is that Taylor Gabriel hasn't really been efficient. But we know from the past that he's a guy who can break a big play at any time. So if he's going to be getting somewhere between 6 and 8 targets a game, he's a guy that you can play, or at least you should own. Because I think he's a guy who's out there in a lot of leagues right now. So if you're in a situation where, Funches was your guy and you're just fucked on your bench, or maybe you've been starting Larry Fitzgerald and Chris Hogan for the past several weeks and you're sick of it. I wouldn't know anything about that. Yeah. I don't know anything about drafting either of those guys in a bunch of leagues. But yeah, maybe that's the case. Gabriel's a pretty good pickup. And with the idea that Chicago's passing offense will become more efficient as this season goes on, Gabriel stands to benefit from that for sure. The other question on this offense, because I think we can both agree that Howard is a weekly start, and that Cohen probably shouldn't be started. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're pretty much dead on. They involve him in weird ways at odd times. I'm sure that'll get better as the season goes on, and of course bye weeks will hit, and then you might have to make a desperate flex play or something like that. But until we see more out of Cohen, he's a safe sit.
I'll like watch a game of theirs and like finish watching it and be like, oh, Cohen must have had like 11 PPR points and then he had like 4. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
Dude, the first what was the Monday night? Was it
The
Bears?
the Packers one.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the Sunday night one. Dude, I was like, they're using him so much, and after the game, I looked at like the stat sheet. He's like, he had 11 touches all game. I was like, he just so dynamic looking and isn't doing shit yet. So he's
Yeah.
definitely a hold for me. And once bye weeks kick in, you'll need him.
Yeah, definitely true there. The last question for them is Trey Burton. He's been getting 5 targets a game, and we know tight end sucks ass. I think this is a pretty good matchup, and I do own Trey Burton in a couple places, and I think I'm going to be rolling him out.
Yeah, I mean, tight end's so terrible, and Trey Burton's commanding some targets, and they do oddly designed plays down at the red zone, and they usually involve Trey Burton, so I like him.
Cool. I'm going to take Chicago and the under.
Yeah, I will also take the Bears and the under.
All right, Dolphins at Patriots, and then we'll take a quick break. But first, Patriots are 5.5 point, or sorry, 6.5 point favorites at home. The over under here is 47.5. This is weird. The Dolphins are 3-0, but like they kind of suck. Their defense has been good. They're third overall in Football Outsiders DVOA, which I've been mentioning that metric a lot. I should probably explain it. It's sort of adjusted for opponent. It's adjusted for like different efficiency sorts of things. It's kind of what I use as really more of a true marker of defensive efficiency and defensive skill, as opposed to kind of, like yards per game or scoring per game, that kind of thing. So take a look at footballoutsiders.com. You can learn more about that if you'd like to. The Miami defense is third in the league in DVOA so far this year. So the defense has been pretty good, but their offense is just like weird and gross. And they have some high scorers, but it's just very weird. I know you mentioned Tannehill earlier in this podcast as a potential streamer, which I think makes sense against what's been a bad New England pass defense. But like their offense hasn't really been able to sustain drives. It's kind of just been a big play offense more than anything else. And I don't know that I like him as much as some other guys. Talk to me about Tannehill and try and sell me on him if you want to, or don't. I don't give a fuck.
So, I mean, I think their offense is set up to kind of do like replicate what the Lions did to the Patriots Sunday night, which they have the skill players to do it with Kenny Stills, Parker coming back, and Danny Amendola over the middle. So I think they have enough firepower to get that done. So I like Tannehill as a stream just pretty much based off of that and the fact that should they like fall to the Patriots early, which totally could happen. We've seen the Patriots rally their shit so many times, which is why they're heavily favored despite having the worst record than the Dolphins at this time. But man, I don't know. I don't see the Patriots defense has been terrible, straight up terrible. So I think they're going to get beat. Kenny Stills is probably going to catch a deep bomb. I really like Kenny Stills' matchup because I think is Eric Rowe coming back because he is just god awful, dude. And they really don't have any replacements that are good enough to keep up with these guys. So I think they have enough skill players to get it done, and they've done some weird shit with some special plays that they just made up. So I do like Tannehill as a streamer here.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I feel like their offense over the first 3 weeks has been like hocus pocus and trickery. It's been like Jakeem Grant has like 5 touchdowns, but is on the field for like 4 snaps a game. It's like shit like that. It's just like I don't trust it for shit. But anyway, you're probably right, and I'm probably wrong. You talked about Stills. For me, he's such a low target. They spread the ball around so much in this past game. Stills is getting like 4 to 5 targets a game. And he's just so big play dependent, so touchdown dependent. If they're going to start any of their wide receivers, it's him. He's on the field the most, but I don't really trust any of them. And Kenyon Drake to me is he to do the famous football quote, he's going to say the thing. He is who we thought he was. I didn't do that exactly, but he's a touchdown dependent RB2. He's getting 4 targets a game, but hasn't done a ton with the passing work at all. So to me, Kenyon Drake is exactly who I thought he was, and I avoided drafting him like the plague.
Yeah, Don was crying about that on the last podcast because he's like, I didn't want to wind up with Kenyon Drake, but no one took him, so I did. I was dying, dude. I was just at work, like, oh my god, Don, you fucking fool. Fell into our perfect trap. But yeah, we were all just passing on him. He went way later than he should, and for good reason. We were very wary of the situation. So,
Like
um,
this past game, they beat the Raiders 28-20. They were ahead like the entire game, and Kenyon Drake had like 3 fantasy points. Like that
the dude had
fucking
5 carries.
yeah,
5 carries.
it was the perfect game script for him to just be great and a good matchup too. The Raiders defense fucking sucks, and like he did bullshit with it. But
Yeah, I really don't know what to do with him. Obviously, you have to hold him and just see what the fuck happens. But they don't care about the run game, and they care about weird gadgety plays now. But
yeah,
it
Albert
is
Wilson getting 2 touchdowns and Jakeem Grant getting 2 touchdowns. Both of them have
exactly.
20% snap share, dude, and they're getting like 2 touchdowns in games. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Sorry. I'm getting myself riled up over the fucking Dolphins. What am I doing to myself?
They're worse than 2017's version of Will Fuller. Just their efficiency makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Patriots. Obviously, real shock of a game on a Sunday night with that loss to the Lions. Part of me, do you remember this game several years ago? I think it was a Thursday night game, probably week 3, where they played the Chiefs and got destroyed. And then
Yep.
they won like their next 10 games in a row or something like that afterwards.
Yeah, that's
So, like,
exactly what I was like alluding to before. Like Patriots are favored. Vegas isn't stupid. They're at home, division opponent coming in, and like the Patriots are just they'll be ready. So it's just one of those games where you're like, narrative makes complete way more sense than than their skill has been showing. So it's just one of those sort of trap games, but in reverse for fantasy because it could be awesome.
yeah, I think unless you have like a really high end streamer matchup, you're rolling out Brady, even though as I said before, Miami's defense is pretty good. Um, One thing to think about, and I don't know if he's going to be shadowing anyone or if he's going to be just kind of playing on side or what the deal may be. But Dolphins cornerback Xavier Howard has quietly become one of the elite shutdown corners in the league. It seems like he really shut down Amari Cooper this past week. He's been great this year. So I don't know exactly whether he's going to be shadowing like Hogan or what the situation may be. But keep an eye on where he's going to be playing because if he's going to be on Hogan, you can't be playing Hogan. So with that in mind, I think either way, you really can't be playing Hogan. Am I wrong with that?
I wouldn't play Hogan. I wouldn't like if Dorsett goes, don't play Dorsett. Don't play Cordarrelle Patterson. Don't do any of that shit. Really, I don't even know. Like, I guess we can just talk about Josh Gordon now. I don't know what the fuck to do with this dude at all. Like, I'm so scared of leaving him off my team, and I'm scared of, bench. Like, it's just, or playing him too. It's just so, I have no idea what to do with him at all.
Yeah, and he was still limited in practice today, so we don't really know what the situation is exactly. Um, I think you're safe if he goes. I think you're okay to leave him on your bench. And like, if you're gonna get killed by Josh Gordon blowing up against the Dolphins in his first week as a Patriot, like you're gonna get killed by it. It's better to get killed by that than to watch him get 0 catches and run 4 routes.
Very
Um,
fair.
I think otherwise though. Look, Gronk's been really disappointing. He only has 17 targets on the year. You got to keep rolling out Gronk. It's pretty much you just have to. Theoretically, this is a pretty decent matchup for him. As I said, the secondary is very good against wide receivers. And then the big news today in terms of the running back core is that Rex Burkhead is on IR. Another guy I drafted a lot of.
Hey,
Really liked him this offseason. That is not working out. But with Burkhead on IR, with Jeremy Hill out for the year, am I wrong in saying that Sony Michel and James White are both guys you should be starting?
yes, absolutely. Obviously, James White, clearly the pass catching back there. And Sony Michel had 14 carries in that Lions game, in a game where they were down and trying to establish a run, but just very weak attempt. But he looks good, and if they get in a positive game script, I think Michelle is going to kill it. And I think these are two guys that I'm like reaching out for trades like before this game. I want to get these guys now because that's all they have. James White and Sony Michel. Finally something that like we've wanted as a fantasy community for so long, and there's just two people there, and God knows, like a day before the game, they're going to sign Jonas fucking Gray, and he's going to come out and be the starting running back.
Just rush for now, 200 yards
and 4 touchdowns. But yeah, dude, I'm going to try and go out and get these guys, make some trade proposals, because I think as the year progresses, I think this team is just going to get better as long as Josh Gordon can do something for this offense because they need him so badly. And then hopefully when Edelman comes back, they start looking a little more normal and this offense will be dynamic. So if you can get either of those running backs, honestly, their years are trending so upward. It's insane.
Yeah. I'm pretty much there with you. I mean, this doesn't mean shit, but like I thought Michelle looked bad in that.
Oh, I thought
game.
He looked good.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe this is just my bias and me being like, why is he getting these carries over Burkhead? But but you know, yeah, I'm probably just stupid on that. I'll shut the fuck up. Let's pick this game, Vin. Who you got?
I'm gonna take the Patriots and the under here.
Okay, I'm gonna go Patriots in the over. I don't believe in the Dolphins at all, and I think the Patriots are going to come out mad. We always talk like I feel like the Patriots are one of those teams like you remember the angry Tom Brady narrative and like how real it was. It's like with the Patriots you can talk about these narratives and I think they become real because one, Tom Brady is emotional and like a huge asshole, and then two, like Belichick can like see that something's not working and can just scheme other shit. So it's like it's like you've got the combination of those, and I think it makes that narrative completely.
They're incredible.
Yeah. Anyway, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with 3 more games before we get to some listener questions. All right, guys, that was Auction Draft. Again, make sure you are checking them out. Get 50% off of your 5-week league. So, Vinny, let's move right into Lions at Cowboys. The Cowboys are somehow favored by 3. I mean, I know they're the home team, but still weird to me. The over-under here is 43.5. So not a ton in terms of stuff we want for fantasy with that low over-under. On the Lions side of the ball, they've looked great. You know, we were just talking about it with the Patriots. They've been very, very good, but this is a tough matchup because the Cowboys slow down the pace of a game and the Lions have a bad run defense. But on the Lions side of the ball, Stafford, is he a starter for you this week?
I feel like it's a trap play, but I do think he'll still support the 3 guys around him being Golladay, Tate, and Jones. I think those guys are must plays every single week. But I think Stafford is a trap because you're like, oh, they should beat up on the Cowboys. They got lots of weapons, but I can see him putting up like 15 fantasy points.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's a bit of a trap. And I think the difference between Stafford, like the weeks where start Stafford and the weeks where like probably don't start Stafford is in the weeks, like in a week like this week, I think he'll support 2 of the 3. I have no idea which 2 of them. I think probably Golladay and one of the other 2. Right. And in the weeks where we're like, start Stafford, it's like, yeah, he'll get all 3 of them the points that you need. So this is one of those weeks where I think Stafford is probably not the best start. I think 2 of Tate, Golladay, and Jones will show up for you, and I don't know which one, so good luck. You should probably just roll all 3 out and hope it's the one that you're rolling out is one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
What about this run game? We saw Kerryon Johnson have the first 100-yard game for the Lions in like 23 weeks or some shit like that. It was like an insanely long amount of time since they've had a 100-yard rusher. Kerryon Johnson did it this past week. He got in the end zone, but LeGarrette Blount also had 16 carries in this game. So it's not like it was just down to one guy. What do you think about Kerryon Johnson, LeGarrette Blount, and then Theo Riddick, who's still involved if they're trailing?
I don't expect them to trail in this game at all. So Theo Riddick, he was out anyway for me, but just game script off for me. Blunt, I do not trust. And Kerryon Johnson intrigues me, but I will not be rolling him out here, if that makes sense. It's just they're basically splitting, and unless he breaks a big play, like they're just not giving him the opportunity that he probably deserves. And I think they're just easing him into it. Like maybe later in the season he'll break out, but for now they're not comfortable with a lead back, which they've been trying to find for years now.
Yeah, he's been getting a little bit more and more in terms of workload each game, which is certainly encouraging. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I think he's a borderline flex, borderline RB2 type guy, depending on the strength of the rest of your team, depending on whether you have like Christian McCaffrey or Chris Thompson or whoever like that on the bye. I don't think it's the worst start that you can make, though. It kind of just is what it is there. On the Dallas side of the ball, you're playing Zeke, who is leads the league in rushing yards and is also going against the Lions defense that has allowed 150 yards per game and 6.3 yards per carry to opposing running backs this year. So pretty good start, it seems like, for Zeke. And the rest of the team you're not playing. Am I wrong there?
No, completely agree. And if the Zeke owner in your league is frustrated or anything like that, or losing a lot, go out and offer something for Zeke, because this dude gets 100% of the running back work for this garbage ass team. What is still something, and this is probably one of the games where Zeke is going to take over and dominate. But overall, just will not be enough since the Cowboys are just god awful right now.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to take the Lions, and I'm taking the under.
I'm going to go Lions and over.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Let's move on to Bengals at Falcons. Wow, that last one was real quick. Bengals at Falcons. You wanted to play almost no one in that last one, and in this one, you want to play pretty much everyone. The Falcons are favored by 5.5 at home. The over/under is 51. I'd be surprised if they don't hit the over there. Let's start on the Bengals side of the ball. You mentioned Andy Dalton a couple times. You seem to like him this week as a streamer.
Yeah, definitely. Andy's been having a good year. Finally, the line is doing what they're supposed to with blocking, which is good. That's a plus. That's a plus for the Bengals offense. So Andy's looking good, has some time to throw. I like just the weapons around him. Like they're using Eifert more in between the 20s right now, which is one of the oddest things to me right now. But we can talk about that when we get to Eifert. But Dalton should definitely have a very good stream week for you. He's definitely out on the wire unless somebody picked him up last week to play. So this game should definitely be a shootout. I love Dalton this week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Let's talk about his pass catchers. AJ Green has a groin issue. He left last week's game. It seems like he should be good to go this week. And if so, he's a must start, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Falcons are decimated right now on defense. So this is, obviously with the over and under of 51, there's going to be a shitload of points, and he's the best wide receiver on the field when healthy. And there's, he was possibly going to re-enter that game, but just wanted to play it safe against Carolina last week. So hopefully he's just logging limited practices for now with the groin injury. So hopefully he just gets in there and we'll be able to produce for you. But yeah, right now it's looking like he's a go.
Cool. Shrek and I talked about it last week, but Tyler Boyd has been everything that we wanted John Ross to be this year. I think he's not only someone that needs to be owned, I think he's someone that you can start like very comfortably in this game. Am I wrong there?
No, definitely not. Especially in this shootout type scenario. Definitely play Boyd. He's been seeing anywhere from 7 to 10 targets a game. He's finding the end zone. He's way better than Ross right now, and probably will be for the rest of the year. So he's definitely a gem people found early on the waiver. If he's still there, absolutely go at him. And he's certainly playable in this matchup and potentially could be wide receiver 3 creeping up to wide receiver 2 throughout the year.
Yeah, I like it. And then you mentioned Eifert and his increasing role. Talk to me a little bit about what you think his prognosis, whatever. What do you think he's going to do this week?
Yes, doctor.
Oh, doctor.
So with Eifert, they're using him mainly in between the 20s, but they're utilizing him more and more as the weeks progress. So he's a guy I've been holding on to. I just keep him there, play him on tight end every single week, like hope it hits. And last week was his best week by far, the most involved week for sure. So I guess his health is holding up, and if all goes well, I hope they move him into like a red zone role, which they have not had him in really at all. They they have Ozamoa, which I never say his name right, and Tyler Croft. They use a lot down there, who are the other two tight ends on the team, which is very odd because Eifert's supposed to be a red zone threat, but once that starts hitting, I think Eifert's going to be really good for the rest of the year. But I'd like to see him in the shootout and hopefully get involved in the red zone.
Yeah, they seem to really be easing him back into the production that they expect from him. But he did get 8 targets this past week. That's a good sign going forward. Gio Bernard might be the best running back play of the week. Atlanta has just allowed 14 and 15 receptions to running backs over the past 2 weeks. We know Gio can catch the ball. Gio, like if you're in a PPR league, or if you're playing DFS and you just want to play Geo, you want to play Geo as much as you possibly can this week. You want as much Geo as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And they had Mark Walton active. He didn't do shit. He came in just to give Geo some breathers. Geo took 95% of running back snaps that game against Carolina and did pretty well. Got 10 targets, 60 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So in a shootout type scenario like we're expecting this to be, Gio is a wonderful play. The only problem is Mixon has been practicing and could possibly play this game.
What?
So,
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's very premature. And I kind of, I mean, even from a Bengals fan standpoint, I'm like, please don't rush Mixon back, like at all. Like you can just hold him, man. Like Gio's
I think
fine.
they can win this game with Gio too. Like,
100%. I think this is a winnable game, but I don't know. It seems like they shouldn't rush Mixon back, and I don't know. I hope he's inactive for this game, just because like let that shit heal up. It's been a week. Like I get they had the long week with Thursday to a week and a half pretty much. So I don't know. It just seems too soon for Mixon. But if you are a Mixon owner and he's active this game, you have to fucking play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're dead on there. Let's talk about Atlanta. Matt Ryan's been stellar the past couple of weeks. I don't see any reason for that to stop. Is he streamer? Is he definite start for you?
He's a definite star for me. I think you should pick him up. It's looking like the old Matt Ryan, which had the career year MVP year. So this is certainly a game where he's going to light up the scoreboard as well. Because the Bengals have just been, just as bad as the Falcons with letting up points to the QB fantasy-wise, despite having some pretty good players, if I don't say so myself. But it's not been clicking for them on defense. So Matt Ryan's a great play, and so are theoretically all the pass catchers here.
Yeah, absolutely. Julio Jones, great play, even though he hasn't caught any touchdowns yet. Calvin Ridley, who, where the fuck did that come from? Jeez.
Blew the fuck up.
3 touchdowns, 140 yards. I said after week 1, I didn't think he needed to be owned. This is me saying on the record, he needs to be owned. Probably needs to be started. But yeah, obviously a great play. What do you think about Sanu?
Well, revenge game, Walsh. Rule number 1.
Oh, fuck.
Always look for the revenge game, dude.
You're right, the revenge narrative.
So I could see his stat line being like 6 targets, 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm rolling him out there. I'm sure you have some better options with better opportunity. But if you must place Sanu, Matt Ryan did look his way an awful lot last game in the shootout with the Saints. Actually, got my favorite play in fantasy is when he scores a touchdown and then gets the 2-point next, because you're like, he can't possibly do this back-to-back, and Sanu got the back-to-back, and I love that play.
That's great. And then Austin Hooper, I think, is interesting. His targets the first 3 weeks have been 4, then 5, then 4. So he hasn't gotten a ton of volume, but the Bengals have allowed a lot of receptions, a lot of yards to tight ends. And Hooper seems like a guy who maybe gets in the end zone this week in what should be a high scoring game. Are you in on him or out on Hoop Daddy?
I love Hoop Daddy, but
All right, cool.
he's just like, throw him in, play him. It's tight end. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about how gross tight end is. You could do grosser than Hoop Daddy. And then the last guy we got to talk about is Tevin Coleman. What do you think about him this week?
Freeman is trending upwards, I saw, which means fucking nothing. But if he starts logging practices, be a little concerned. Obviously, check if he's active or not before playing Coleman. So just keep an eye on that for Sunday. If Freeman's inactive, play Coleman as you would. And if Freeman is active, I think you could sneak him into the flex because that's what Tevin Coleman is if you need him.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. The Bengals defense just gave up 230 yards to running backs this past week. So you're probably not going to sit the starting running back against them this week. Or even, as you said, if both guys go, 230 yards is enough for both guys to have a decent game. So who you got in this one?
I'm going to take the Bengals and the over.
I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I think this is I think this game is gonna like blow the fuck out, like potentially like up into like 40s for both team totals. Should be really fun. I've also been very high on the Bengals. Let's go from what should be a very high scoring game to what should be a very low scoring game with the Jets at the Jaguars. Jaguars are favorites by 7.5 here. The over under is 38.5. Anytime an over-under dips below 40, we know we don't want to start anyone except for maybe a running back. And I don't think that changes here, where I think the only guy I want to play is Leonard Fournette. Am I wrong here?
No, that's dead on. We could sweep that through. Just Fournette, man. And I hope he isn't limited in any fashion, but if he's coming back to play, you fucking play him.
Yeah, just to not spend the smallest amount of time ever. The Jets have been pretty good against the pass, but they've been susceptible to the run. So that's why I like Fournette so much. We're hoping he plays this week. If he doesn't, then you kind of deal with it from there. I said he's the only guy I want to play, but I guess I'm still intrigued by Quincy Enunwa. The Jags in the slot aren't as strong as the Jags on the outside. And we know Enunwa gets most of his work in the slot. Do you have any interest in him at all?
If you really are in a tough spot for some reason already, you could play Enunwa, but that's only because he commands a lot of attention out of the slot and really has Darnold's attention. He has over 40% of the targets right now for the Jets. He's the only thing Sam Darnold is looking at right now. So he's the only one that I would slightly consider. Although this seems like one where you're like, that makes sense. All that shit makes sense. And then he just has a bum ass game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would make sense. And then we should talk about the Jets running backs just because Isaiah Crowell has had 2 games with 2 touchdowns each. Are you on the Crowell train? Would you rather play him over Powell? Talk to me a little bit there.
I don't want to play either of them. I just, if I have to play one of them, it's probably Powell. I don't believe Crowell has a good game here. Yeah, that's all I got for the Jets. They're just unpredictable, inexperienced. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Crowell's averaged less than 3 yards per carry in each of the past 2 weeks. He was very, fortunate to get in the end zone 2 times this past week. You can't really bank on that every week. And if I was going to play one, it would be Powell, but I don't really want to play either. Like I said, I pretty much only want to play Fournette. Who you got in this one?
I'm gonna take the Jags under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jags. I'm gonna go over, but not by much. Maybe like a
40,
like a 20, 21, 18. Hit the over by half a point, that kind of thing. But we'll see how it goes. And that's gonna do us for this set of games. But before we let you guys go, we've got a group of questions. So let's see. First question from Christopher Kampsk. Chicago D or Chargers D? This is interesting because I know we both like the Chicago D. But the Chargers are a 10-point favorite, and we'll get to them in the next podcast. I don't know. What's your opinion here?
I think Chicago's too good to bench, and I think if you were in a position where you didn't have Chicago, like it's easily, Chargers defense because they have a great matchup against 49ers and CJ Beathard are coming back, but it's Chicago D for me. They're the best defense in the league.
Yeah, Joey Bosa is, likely going to be out until about mid-season, and I think that's the difference maker for me. I will go with Chicago there. Next question from Chandler Gaming 9. Trey Burton versus Tampa or Eric Ebron versus Houston in a PPR league. What do you think?
I am going to take Trey Burton here just for opportunity, and I think Bears should be slinging it a decent amount.
Okay. With the idea that Jack Doyle's sitting again, I'll take Ebron. But I do think it's very close. I think either of them are a pretty good start this week. From a bunch of letters together, should I keep Bell or should I trade him away? I'm one of the guys who had Jimmy G. That sucks that you had Jimmy G, but welcome to the stream life, brother. It's the best kind of life. I don't know, Vin. What do you think? Keep Bell, trade him away. Depends on the offers.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the offer. If you're getting any sort of number one, like a number one running back, a number one wide receiver, then sure. But otherwise, he's probably a hold because it's very difficult for people to gauge value and then, not fuck you over in a trade while, you're not robbing them blind. So it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should trade Bell away for any running back lower on the totem pole than like a Devontae Freeman, it's just really tough because if he could get traded tomorrow, he could come back tomorrow, and then then you have all the questions of if he gets traded, is he being used like the workhorse he was in Pittsburgh? If he doesn't, does James Conner get some of the run since he's been good? To me, I'm keeping him. I'm not trying to, unless I get an offer that I really can't refuse. And I'm not even sending out offers for the most part. I'm kind of just holding him, seeing what people throw at me, and if someone wants to overpay, let him overpay. From Kevin, Bears D against Bucks. Our thoughts are that's a pretty fucking good start.
Yeah, like we said, best defense in the NFL. Roll them the fuck out.
Yeah, the next question was also start the Bears D with confidence. Yes, you should do that. The next question from Jose. Should I trade George Kittle for Doug Baldwin? I'm going to say fuck yeah.
Yeah, but like no one's going to take that. You kind of missed the window there, but
Well,
you can certainly offer it.
I mean, like the fact that he's asking that makes me think that that's a thing that's on the table.
As
So
long
if
as it's on the table, yeah, pull the trigger.
if it's on the table, like absolutely. George Kittle didn't like, despite the fact that they went to college together, George Kittle and CJ Beathard like really didn't do all that much together last year. Kittle's been way better with Garoppolo and with Doug Baldwin coming back to practice today, which is something we'll get into more on the next podcast. That's what we call a goddamn teaser, Vinny. Yeah, I would absolutely do that trade. Next question from Chris. Mike Williams or Chris Godwin this week? I don't know. Who you got there, Vin?
I'm going to go Mike Williams. I like what he's been doing, and he commands touchdowns. Although their ceilings and floors seem to be about the same, I just like the Chargers offense a bit more in their matchup.
Yeah, we'll get into it more again also next podcast, but Mike Williams has out-targeted Tyrell Williams. He's been used a lot in the red zone. Chris Godwin, as we said earlier, has gotten a lot of looks while he's been on the field, but he's surprisingly not on the field as much as one would think for the amount of work that he's gotten. So in this matchup, in the good matchup for San Diego, the bad matchup for Tampa Bay, I'm on Mike Williams there. Next question from Jerry Clark 5. Derek Carr or Josh Allen? Fucking gross.
Yeah, this is disgusting. Josh Allen has the better matchup, but there's no fucking way I'm doing that.
Dude, I might. I don't know.
Fuck
My question
that.
is like, you can't pick up anyone else. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah, I would. Oh, let me find like the most ass person I would pick up.
Let's take a quick look through these matchups. Just see like.
I would rather play Case Keenum. Hopefully that dude is out there. It's not
I'm
even an ass. Like he's I just feel like he's a name that's definitely out there and he has the best matchup of the week with
I would
the
rather play
Vikings.
Joe Flacco. I would rather play Case Keenum. I might rather play Josh Rosen than either of them.
I'd also rather play Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, for sure, Baker Mayfield. Um, Tannehill's out there. Dalton might be out there.
There are options.
Yeah, there are options. Like if you're really down to either one of those, I would say Carr has the higher floor. I think Allen has the higher ceiling. So it also kind of depends on what you're looking for. But man, there are some other options out there that you might want to consider for this week. Um, Next question from Churi Brick. Is AP legit? He's legit when the Redskins are ahead.
Yeah, I think he's kind of one of the sell high guys because I can't see this keeping up all year. Obviously, I think Redskins will get into more challenging games. They are very good, but AP can't keep up that touch count at his age, and their offense is going to have to change a bit when they're down. Obviously,
Yeah, I think it's easy to look at the Redskins running backs and be like, you want AP in the games where they're going to be ahead, Chris Thompson in the games where they're going to be behind, and that's correct. The issue is that so far we've been wrong, and the betting markets have been wrong about who's going to be ahead or behind in every single game. Week 1, they were an underdog to the Cardinals. They killed them. AP went off. Week 2, they were a favorite against the Colts. The Colts beat them. Thompson went off. Week 3, they were an underdog against the Packers, and they beat the Packers, and AP went off. So like they're easy to predict based on game script, but we've been dead wrong about game script every week so far. So that's the question, I guess, right now with the
yeah.
Redskins.
Be
Um,
that really, really cool guy in the office that talks loud. That's like, man, I just look up the experts and whatever they say, I do the opposite. Be like that awesome fucking dude when you're thinking
yeah,
about AP.
definitely, definitely. If we say don't play AP, then play him and then tell everyone about it. Um, All right. Next question from Ethan. Is Josh Gordon still a wait and see if I have AJ Green, Sanders, and Golden Tate? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, man. What a core, by the way. Bravo. We'll clap it
Yeah.
up to Ethan here. But yeah, that's the best situation you can possibly be in because there are people that are in like I need Josh Gordon to be amazing, like Randy Moss style. And you have a great core. And I think if he has a good game, fucking sell him.
Yeah, that's a situation where unless you're really struggling at some other position and there's someone in your league that covets Josh Gordon, like you said, best situation to have because you don't need to play him, but if he starts doing really well, you start playing him. Um, Last question from Reps89. Half point PPR, Millard or Bernard slash Diggs or Ridley? Wait.
Two questions, Walsh.
Oh, all right, cool. Sorry. Lamar Miller or Gio Bernard, and then Stephon Diggs or Calvin Ridley. This is
It's
not
tough.
difficult for me.
Oh, I think it's tough for Miller Geo, mainly because ambiguity with Mixon right now. But
Okay.
obviously, if Mixon's out, you play Geo. If Mixon's in, you play Miller. And then I'm going to assume Diggs for both of us.
Yeah, that's dead on. I mean, I said before, I think Diggs is going to go for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns this game. Yeah, for me, it's Gio and Diggs unless Mixon is involved, in which case maybe you go to Miller. Um, yeah, that's going to do it for us for part 1 of the Week 4 preview. Vinny and I will be back with part 2. We've got a tight 7 games. We may have some questions. Our fearless leader Shrek has not sent them to us, but I'll see if we get them yet. And if not, then we'll just be back with the tight 7 games. Vinny, you got anything else for the people before we leave them?
No, Godspeed. Hope everyone enjoys the Thursday night game, which, God, please be good. This should be a really good game. But
Yeah, it's I'm fucking pumped for it. Yeah, enjoy the game, the Thursday night game, guys. Start Steph Diggs everywhere. And for Vinny, I am Walsh. Later podcast. All right. I'm gonna grab a couple more beers and take a piss.
oh, same.
Cool. All right.
What was that, an hour? A little less?
Maybe a little bit more. Yeah.
Shit.
Shrek said he'll have questions over, so we can just start, and I can just read them off the phone when we get to them.
Word. Works for me, dog.
Tom was sending a bunch of gifs of like gay stuff to our text. And the first one I don't think he realized, but it was that Japanese wrestler named Razor Ramon Hard Gay, and it's just him in all leather, just like humping the air. It's fucking great.
That's awesome.
Um,
Send him that one. I don't know if you remember, like a long time ago, you're like, I think you're the only one that would appreciate this. And it was some kid like blowing a teddy bear like with a dildo strap on. It's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh man, that was so fun. I think about that often.
I don't think I've thought about it since then.
The most intense GIF I've ever seen. And you were only comfortable like sending that to me in private. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. And on that note,
let's podcast about football.
all right.
Ooh.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I'm your host tonight. My name is Nick Walsh, and I am here with my good pal, Vinny Gonzalez. Vinny, what's going on, dude?
What's going on, Walsh? I'm ready for the more drunk version of part one.
Yeah, it's part two of the week four preview, otherwise known as the weekly part where whoever is doing this takes about a 5 minute break, even though you hear it the next day, and we keep drinking beers. So this is the part where we start 3 beers in and finish about six beers in. So anyway, Vinny, with that out of the way, now that we've gone inside baseball and explained exactly how this is going to go. We're here because of auction draft. So while the NFL season may have officially kicked off, your hopes of drafting a fantasy team for 2018 is not gone. With auction draft, you can draft your team at any time, and you have a 5-week season with your friends. So that way, when you pay too much for Le'Veon Bell, hoping he shows up to camp and he doesn't show up, you get another shot to get it right in 5 weeks. You can sign up now by going to letstalkfantasyfootball.com/auction draft. Use the promo code LTFF. Save 50% off your league. All right, Vin. We got 7 games here. We got some listener questions. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. So let's jump right into it. We'll go Eagles at Titans. The Eagles are a 4-point favorite on the road, and the over-under here is 41.5. So not a ton really expected in terms of scoring during this game. We don't particularly like that from a fantasy perspective. But Carson Wentz in his first game back this past week was pretty decent. What do you think about him this week?
Yeah, he started off very sexy and then kind of showed some rust. So I think that'll continue to shake out. But I don't love this matchup as the away team going against the Titans, whose defense has been pretty good. So I'd be nervous to roll out Wentz. I think a lot of people are doing it, but I would advise against it. Maybe look for an Andy Dalton or some other guys we've talked about. But I would imagine most people roll him out, although I am scared.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not in love with Wentz. I think if you drafted him, one, weird, and two, you don't need to play him. There are other plays. So let's talk about his pass catchers a little bit. I think up until this past week, we were pretty much comfortable with Zach Ertz and Nelson Aguilar in terms of Eagles pass catchers. Has that list just narrowed to Zach Ertz, or are you still on Aguilar?
I could still see Aguilar being, pretty deep. Like, it's just he gets so many looks and will, be part of like the short game, which I think Wentz targets a lot. That he goes to like Ertz a lot, Aguilar a lot. It's just his touchdown upside is pretty weak. But in a game that it's gonna be very low scoring. So I think Aguilar could work up some PPR points, but not in any other sort of fashion. Like, I don't see him finding the end zone or anything special like that. So if you have a better matchup-based play, like a Tyler Boyd, even a Mohamed Sanu, I'd probably prefer that over Aguilar.
Okay, that's fair. I think it's worth noting that a lot of Aguilar's volume-based production has come with Nick Foles in his career. So at the beginning of last season with Ertz, Aguilar was sort of a mid-volume, like somewhere from 5 to 7 targets, would occasionally get in the end zone, that kind of thing. And a lot of the stuff where he was getting these 8, 9, 10 targets came with Nick Foles. So I don't know if that chemistry is entirely there with Aguilar as much as it is with a guy like Zach Ertz. The interesting thing in that pass game, so there's a couple. One, Alshon Jeffrey is back to practice. He's limited in practice. We don't know really anything about his status this week, but it's possible he might be out there. So keep an eye on that. I think the other interesting thing was the emergence of rookie Dallas Goedert at tight end. This past week, he was on the field for 67% of the snaps with Carson Wentz, had 7 targets, caught all 7 of them, 73 yards, and 1 touchdown. Obviously that's a hyper efficient performance, but we've been saying it the whole time. Tight end sucks. If you've got a guy who's going to be on the field for 67% of the snaps and Carson Wentz is willing to target him, do you have any interest in Dallas Goedert?
Nah, fuck that. I don't like that at all, dude.
All
So
right, I'll go fuck myself.
I'm gonna stay away. Don't necessarily fuck yourself, Walsh, but like, I don't know, get lost or something. But it's not a bad take, but I'm gonna stay completely away from that. Rather play a very long list of garbage tight ends other than him. Because I feel like he'd get burned like, very hard. Like we saw Trey Burton sort of emerge at times when Ertz was out, and then sneaking a touchdown in random games last year. But I don't know. Just Wentz likes his tight ends, but it's just all Ertz straight up. He's gonna have a great game.
7 targets. 7.
I don't give a shit.
Okay. All right. No, that's probably a fair take and probably the right one. Like I'm probably just chasing points at this stage, but I don't know. I thought it was worth bringing up. Let's talk about the running backs. Ajayi should be back. We saw Smallwood get involved a little bit more or at least when I thought it was going to be Corey Clement's backfield to kind of own. I don't want any fucking part of it.
Yeah, I will also take part in none of this. So I don't like it because no one's playing Smallwood. Like you could pick him up, stash him in a deeper league. Like I don't care, but you're not rolling him out here. And Clement, we just saw last week in a good matchup, just ceded all the good stuff to Wendell Smallwood and he got burned. So I don't like any of that. And I think Ajayi was still out of practice. So I don't even know if he's going to necessarily miss or be active, surprisingly. Regardless of his status, we've seen this backfield be completely unreliable. So stay far away. And this game should probably be relatively low scoring. So I would kind of just stay away from all those guys because their touchdown upside is very limited.
Yeah, absolutely. Onto the Titans side of the ball, Marcus Mariota is going to start this week. Don also, breaking news from the DON, he just texted us and said Rashard Matthews wants a trade, apparently, or some shit like that. I don't think that matters. I don't think any of this matters. I don't think you should play a single Titan.
No. I will say maybe Dion Lewis, even though he's been very unreliable. This could be a game that gets away from the Titans early, and they will have to pass to him a ton because Derrick Henry is bad right now.
Yeah, I'm a huge Dion Lewis owner. He only has 4 targets over the past 2 weeks combined. I'm trying to look elsewhere very actively. I might be forced into it in a league, but I'm not going to like it at all.
Yeah, that's sticky, very sticky.
Yeah, it's real. That's the right word for it. It's real sticky. I don't like it. Eagles favorites by 4. Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, I'd like to pick the Titans in a shocker after they took out the Jags, but I'll go Eagles as well with the big time under.
Can you believe the Titans are 2-1? It's them and the Dolphins where I look at their actual records and I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, I think I talked about it early in the preseason. I'm like, I feel like every win the Titans get, they don't deserve.
Yeah.
When I watch the game, I'm like, oh, that could have swung the other way big time.
Yeah. Somehow they beat the Jags this past week. It's like, how did that happen? The Jaguars are kind of good. Yeah. I don't know, whatever.
Dumb.
Let's move on to another game that I'm going to be mad about, the Browns at the Raiders. We've got the Raiders as a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 45, but we're going to start on the Browns side of the ball with Baker Mayfield getting his first career start. I like the matchup. I think you can play Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, pick up Baker, man. Browns are good. Like, they are a good team. They might not win a ton of games, but I think they're going to be in a lot of fights this year. And Baker is definitely a guy that I'm targeting as, like, let's say you had Jimmy G, I would pick up Baker, or, any sort of other desperate, like if you're looking for the long-term shot, pick up Baker big time.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a great match to roll them out too for the first matchup. This is great.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the Raiders are 31st in Football Outsiders DVOA. That's bad. And like Baker looked really good this past Thursday against the Jets. He looked very, very good. And what you were saying with the Browns being good, like the Browns should be 3-0 right now.
Correct.
Like, and that's not even like, that's like that's like replacement level quarterback play and or a competent kicker gets them to 3-0. Not even like and. It's like either one of those two things gets them to 3-0. Like their defense is good, their skill position players have been good. Carlos Hyde has quietly been one of the most productive fantasy running backs in the league and is another must start in this game. So yeah, they're good. I think you play Mayfield. I think you play Hyde. I think you play Antonio Callaway. Maybe not David Njoku, but I like those other guys.
Yeah, I think I sort of breathed loudly when you said Callaway because he's just so like raw right now. I
10
need to.
targets.
I don't care, Walsh. Actually, I'm actually mad because I took a player prop bet with Callaway to have over 33.5 yards versus the Jets, and that motherfucker got 20
on like, 10 targets.
Yeah, that's trash, dude.
And, I mean, half of that was like Tyrod missing him by an inch when he should have had an easy touchdown.
Right.
But
I could have had that bet locked up, sealed, and like on those routes, Callaway just looked lazy. I mean, Tyrod missed him, but dude, like try for the ball. Like he's just like, let it come to me, and then if it doesn't, I'm not jumping or anything. And we've seen people like Tyreek Hill, same stature, speed, like jump the fuck up in the air for some ball. So like that dude has to start playing. But yeah, they're skill position players. You can definitely roll them out. I think you're just loving the matchup. So Callaway is some guy you could play in the flex if you're desperate. But everything else is right. And I will say with Njoku, once Baker came in, he started looking good, got some looks. So maybe that breakout's closer than we thought, and certainly better rapport with Baker immediately, like right away in that Jets game than he had with, Tyrod most of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Interesting stat regarding the Raiders and their propensity to give up big plays in terms of Antonio Callaway. A quarter, 25% of completions, or the Raiders' completions against them have been for 20 or more yards. So Raiders give up big plays. And Antonio Callaway is a big play guy. I'm going to be playing him where I can this week. But I understand the reticence there. Raiders side of the ball, unless you want to talk about like Duke Johnson or some shit.
I was gonna slightly mention Rashard Higgins.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I didn't
Matt
see that
was
one coming.
Yeah, so me and Matt did the recap, I think, last week, and he was saying, actually, no, we did the preview for the Thursday night Jets Browns.
Right.
How Higgins is out there a lot, and he is seeing a higher snap share out there. So he's a radar guy. Like, just keep track of him, see what happens. Especially if Callaway starts, slipping shit up. But he is out there for a large majority of the snaps. He's a good wide receiver. Just need to see how he looks in the Baker-led offense for the Browns.
Cool. I like that. Let's move to the Raiders side of the ball. Derek Carr hasn't really played terrible. He was bad in that first game. He hasn't played terrible in these past two. But I don't think he's a guy you really want to be playing against this Browns defense, which is fourth in DVOA. They've forced the most turnovers in the league of any defense. I think the Browns defense is a decent one to start in this game. They've forced a lot of turnovers. So I don't like Derek Carr. Do you like any of his passing weapons? And if so, which ones? Because God, does it move from game to game? Which one is getting the work?
By my calculations, it is going to be a huge game for Martavis Bryant. Just because that's how shit goes now.
Yeah, right?
Gruden can't game plan around more than one person. He's just like, all Jordy, all Cooper. So,
all Jared Cook.
Yeah, and exactly. It's all garbage. So don't play any of those people. They're not trustworthy. And like Cooper's the biggest bummer to me because he's, at least I thought, was a very talented wide receiver who could be an easy lock for like wide receiver one on an NFL team. And he's been anything but. And we've just been trying to make him that for a long time. So I think all these guys are safe sits. Don't chase points with Jordy. You don't have to roll Cooper out at all. And, it's just if you're playing Cook, sure. I think is he injured, Walsh? I know he's sort of banged up. I don't know if he's missing practice, though.
He's been limited in practice, but he should be able to go this week.
Yeah, Cook's a guy you can roll out. He's the one guy, like tight end's so bad, and they like Cook a lot, so he's one.
I'd rather play Dallas Goedert.
All right, I would not. So that
Now,
is
that was kind of
draw
me just being a dick.
draw the line in the sand.
um, so with these pass catching options, I'm gonna plant my flag on Cooper this week in terms of the person to play. Cleveland's allowed a decent amount of points to opposing wide receiver ones, and I think at this point Cooper's still their wide receiver one. I think you can also chalk last week up to I mentioned on part one of the week four preview. If you haven't listened to that yet, that I think Xavier Howard of the Dolphins is slowly but surely becoming one of the league's premier shutdown corners. And he was shadowing Cooper this past week. So I think Cooper has a chance to really sort of rebound. I don't think you should chase points with Jordy, who had a 66-yard catch and also a 61-yard catch this past week. That seems unlikely to repeat itself. So yeah, I'm on Cooper. I guess the only other guy to talk about is Marshawn Lynch. He has a touchdown in each of the first 3 games. Do you like him this game?
I don't think I'll ever like playing Marshawn Lynch, but he has the potential to get a touchdown literally every single game. So if you're in a spot, sure. Would I bank on it? Fuck no.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think if you've been playing him, if you've been riding him, and you don't have better options, like yeah, absolutely. If they get within the 5-yard line, they're probably going to give him the ball. So yeah, sure. He's like Kenyon Drake in that he's a touchdown dependent RB2, but the difference is he actually scores touchdowns. So
Boom.
yeah, suck it, Kenyon Drake. Unnecessary shot at you. All right. Who you got in this one?
Oh, man, I'm going to take the Browns, dude, on a win streak. And I'll take the over.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking the Browns in the over. I have lost all faith in the Raiders.
As you should, man. Gruden is I don't even know if it's necessarily his fault, but I'd like to say it is all of his fault.
It's not his fault. I'll say that much. All these great games are fucking gross. Let's move on to Seahawks at Cardinals. Yeah, why do we even need to talk about this? Seattle's a road favorite by 3 points. Over under is 38.5. The big news on the Cardinals side of the ball is that Josh Rosen is going to start. So since we brought that up, let's start on the Cardinals side of the ball. What should a David Johnson owner do this game, Vinny?
I don't know, Walsh. You tell me, man, because you're a David Johnson owner in every single league. From an outside perspective, I feel like I would be a person looking to trade to get him. But then again, I'm like, why would I do that to myself? Because it just looks so not promising.
So it can only go up, right? That's like what I keep telling myself.
it could stay just like a flat line of just like David Johnson, just
shit.
It's all the game. Like, what are you doing? Nothing's wrong with him at all.
Yeah,
nothing's wrong with the guy.
I already went on my rant last week for probably a solid 2 minutes to Shrek about their offense. So I won't dive back into that. But I think as a David Johnson owner and someone who should be recommending what to do with him, I'm holding him and I am playing him. I feel like the offense with Josh Rosen, he didn't show shit this past week when they put him in, but that was a bad situation for them to put him into. The Seahawks defense isn't great. He's got a full week to prepare as the starter. For me, I'm looking at this and I'm having to look at this glass half full. Trust me on this. But for me, I'm looking at this as, okay, there's a chance that this gets turned around. And the Seahawks defense isn't great. I think David Johnson is a good start this week. I think you should be starting him. If you do have him on your team, I think you can sit Larry Fitzgerald, no problem. But David Johnson, I think you should be starting.
Yeah, I like how you glossed over like really heavy shit for the Cardinals, like throwing in Rosen with like 2 minutes left and they need to win the game. Like,
yeah, that's like an insane thing to do, right? That's like
doing. What are you doing?
Is their coaching staff like? Do they have like some sort of? I'm trying to avoid being offensive. Um,
Mental deficiency.
yeah, it's just like what like between the way that they've play called for David Johnson, between the way that they've used him, between throwing Josh Rosen in and just like, hey kid, go win the game, like against the best defense in the league,
Yeah.
like
Well, that like right off the bat, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, just let fucking Bradford just die. Like, let him
yeah,
die out there. Like, he earned that opportunity to just, not be the starter anymore. So,
yeah.
like, during that game, like, he completely blew it for them. It was a close game. Let him finish the game out and then call Rosen. Like, we're calling him up. It's fine. He's good to go. But you throw him in there against the Bears. And then, like, on 3rd and 2, and you're about to cross midfield, you run fucking Chase Edmonds out there with no David Johnson. Like, you are the worst team in the league. You're worse than the Bills.
And that's the thing that gives me pause in terms of the ability for them to improve on what they've done. Um, Larry Fitzgerald, he does have an injury too. He didn't practice today, or I believe he was limited. I forget which one. Uh, I don't think that matters. I think you're not playing him. Um, the Ricky Seals Jones train is. I know he caught a touchdown the second I got off of him,
That was the funniest
but
thing.
please do not, dude. Just infuriating, like infuriating. I don't think you should get back on him because he caught that touchdown. And David Johnson, you just need to continue to ride. You need to hope that this coaching staff gets their collective head out of their collective asshole and figure it out from there.
Yes, collective everything. Just get it out of things, especially at their assholes.
um, let's talk about the Seahawks before I start like headbutting my computer. Uh, the Seahawks also have been pretty disappointing. I mean, I know they beat the Cowboys this past week. Chris Carson had a huge game, but do you think Russell Wilson is still a fantasy must start?
No, and like part of me is like this matchup isn't great either. So, like, obviously, the second you fade Russell Wilson, he's gonna do his magical shit and put up 32 points. But like at that point, I don't even give a shit. I'm gonna drop him for Andy Dalton. I'm gonna drop him for Baker Mayfield. Like, I'm pretty much done with Russell Wilson, and I have owned 0 shares. I'm just sick of watching him put up dud after dud and like just kind of be subpar. And it's because their team is subpar. They're not a powerhouse. They don't have a defense to back it up anymore, really. Defense is decent, offense is decent, but they're just not a team that's going to go out there and destroy someone.
Yeah, Dalton's a better start this week than Russell Wilson is. I don't think it's even close.
Oh,
So,
easily.
uh,
Tannehill's I would drop Russell Wilson for Tannehill, pick him up and play him.
yeah, we actually didn't talk about the one that we'll talk about next, but there might be a guy in the next game who might be a better start, who you're going to be like, really, but might be a better start.
Oh, you sack of shit.
I might mean it, dude. All right, let's talk about his pass catching targets. Tyler Lockett has scored a touchdown in every single game so far, but even without those, he would have a weekly low of 9 fantasy points. I think he's a guy you can kind of run out there until further notice.
Yeah, and then I know Baldwin might be returning this game, but yeah, Lockett's been great. I like Lockett.
Yeah, I think the return of Baldwin honestly might even make Lockett more appealing to me because you've got Baldwin in this. One, you're kicking Lockett outside full time, where you've got people in the slot kind of concentrating on Baldwin. He becomes the focal point of what the defense is looking at. And then you've got Lockett on the outside to break more big plays than what he's currently doing. So I think either way, whether or not Baldwin is back, I like Lockett going forward. I don't like any of the other pass catchers, though. They're not getting enough targets. Don't pick up Will Disley, please.
I called that to a T. I said he would fuck you, and he fucked you dry. He got point 0.3 points. Blow me, everybody. I hate Will Disley. I hate breakout tight ends that are garbage.
It was more just his usage was bad. I don't know shit about the guy. He might be like a real nice guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, I'm not calling him out as a person. Just I hate when this happens and everyone gets on him. I'm like, please stop. Just don't do that shit to yourself.
Yeah.
And it happened. It happened.
All right. What about Chris Carson, who had 32 carries this past week? Do you think he's worth a start here?
He'll never see that even close for the rest of the season. So I'm going to stay away. Um, Even in a game with like a positive game script, he'll see
Would you
opportunity.
would
But
you rather start him or Marshawn Lynch?
oh, Lynch for sure.
Okay, what about him or Kenyon Drake?
Wow. Man, that sucks. I would go Drake though. I really don't like the Seahawks offense. Run wise, reliability, and like whatever Pete Carroll decides to do.
Okay, that's fair. I think I'd go Carson over Drake, not over Lynch, but I don't know. That's the kind of range I guess we have him
Mhm.
in. Do you have anyone else on the Seahawks you need to talk about?
Um, no, not really. I mean, Brandon Marshall's kind of been floating around, but if Baldwin's back and Lockett's ready to rock, like, nah, not anymore.
Okay, fair enough. Let's pick this one. Who do you have in this?
Seahawks fat under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Seahawks and under. Let's do one more before we take a break. We'll do Saints at Giants. Saints are a road favorite by 3.5. Over under is 50. I hinted at it before. I think you can start Eli Manning in this game. Let's talk about the Giants first. Uh, Eli, dude, hasn't been the worst this season. Facing a defense that has given up a lot of points. One of their starting cornerbacks just went down to injury. They don't have shit for their other cornerbacks. Um, yeah, I'm in on Eli. Am I a piece of shit like you alluded to, or am I all right?
No, you're not. All right, you're still a piece of shit, but not the biggest one.
Okay.
It's certainly a reasonable. Like, I just could never wrap like Eli and Joe Flacco. Like, I would never have the mental ability to pick them up, drop somebody, put them into my starting lineup, and be like, "This is what I'm doing for Sunday." It's just so rough to do every single time. But the matchup, like this, should be a decent shootout. The highest over and under next to the Bengals Falcons game. So they are anticipating a lot of points to be scored. And if Eli doesn't suck, then they're going to have a great game, which is a lot like it's such a stupid thing to say, but Eli has been prone to sucking sometimes. So it's tough to trust him, but their offense is still pretty good. And it might like it's kind of one of those things like Evan Ingram's going to be out. So they're sort of going to have to rely on their playmakers more, like Odell. Shepard's going to be way more involved. Saquon's going to get more carries. So they might even be more balanced as opposed to trying to get opportunities to every single other person. Even with like Rhett Ellison coming in, like it just seems like they could be more balanced, but I'm so nervous about rolling out somebody like Eli.
That's fair. I just think I'm like willing to start with confidence this week. Odell Beckham, Saquon Barkley, and Sterling Shepard. As you said, Evan Ingram's going to be out. I'm like I think all three of those are not just must starts, but like elite starts. Even Sterling Shepard, particularly because I think Marshawn Lattimore will be shadowing Odell Beckham, which leaves Shepard on these cornerbacks that have just. I mean, one of like God, I forget the guy's name, but the one who had Ridley in the slot last week gave up 3 touchdowns to Calvin Ridley. You know, like that's the kind of cornerbacks we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and to be honest, like number twos have killed the Saints.
Yeah, absolutely murdered them. And number ones have done pretty well too. So you shouldn't be worried about Beckham in that sense. But like there's just I feel like there's so many points to go around in this game, and they're all gonna go to about 6 people. Um, so yeah, it's a great game to attack in that sense.
So for Don's sake, let's talk about some Cody Lattimore action.
Okay.
I was just kidding. I don't want to talk about him at all.
I mean, we can. Like, there's a chance he has a good game. I don't think like if you were here's the thing about Cody Latimer is if you were gonna play him, this would be the week. And I don't think you can have enough confidence to play him this week.
I will compare him to the Mohamed Sanu play in that Bengals Falcons game. It's about the same upside and about the same floor. The dude could sneak in a touchdown and like 4 to 6 catches, but you don't necessarily want to do that.
Yeah, he's kind of like a bargain basement DFS like tournament play as well. There's another guy in the games that I'll bring up in the same sort of way.
Is it
Um,
Cam Meredith?
no, no, it's not. We'll get
Okay.
there. Not in this game, but in the games to come.
Gotcha.
But like you said, Sanu, that kind of play, Latimer. Um, yeah, I mean, like, I don't think you should be touching him in any league with less than 16 teams. You know, but yeah,
All
that's about it.
right. Super
Um,
fair. Super fair.
let's move to the Saints side of the ball. Obviously, Drew Brees is, a good start. I don't know if he's going to rush in 2 touchdowns this week, but he's a good start. And then the Saints offense has gone almost exclusively to Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. Do you see that going any different against the Giants this week?
No. The only thing worth noting for these must starts every single week is Kamara was a little banged up with a knee injury, so he's been limited at practice. But yeah, Breeze, Kamara, Thomas, insane, absolutely insane. The volume all three of these guys have had is insane. I'll say it again, the fifth time. But it's I'm worried, not worried, but just very curious to see what happens when Ingram gets back next week. I feel like they might get back to that balanced approach, and we'll see less out of Thomas. Kamara might still be ridiculous, but in that low volume state. So I'm loving what they're doing right now. I'm just anticipating to be let down for like maybe the next half of the season.
That's fair. Fun fact on Michael Thomas, first player in NFL history to have at least 10 receptions in all 3 games of the first 3 weeks of the season. Just really wild shit how this offense has been so prolific, and it's all been to 2 players. Obviously, some of the touchdowns have gone elsewhere, and I think if you're desperate, you can maybe run Ted Ginn out, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Meredith before. He's probably in the same boat as like Lattimore and Sanu because he's going to be in the shootout and getting more acclimated to the offense. Scored a touchdown last week, but yeah, Ted Ginn would be the guy that is safer and will probably see more opportunities.
Cool. And then just before we move on, Ben Watson, eh?
Yeah, I'll actually agree with that one. Yeah, they like Breeze likes him, but they just don't need him, so they don't look to him. But he could sneak in a touchdown against like the Giants, who are very prone to giving that up.
Cool. I'm right there with you on that. I'm going to take the Saints, and I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, same. Saints and over for me as well.
All right. 49. Oh, wait. Sorry. We're going to take a quick break, guys. We're going to hear from Auction Draft, and we'll be right back.
I got piss.
Okay. I'm going to do that too then.
Yeah, I just need to. Be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Hello. Blake texted me during this and just says Nicholas. I'm like, what do you want to trade me, Mike?
Oh, ew.
um, all right, let's get back into this.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right, guys, that was auction draft. Make sure you are checking them out. Vinny, we got 3 more games. We got some questions from the readers, and we're going to go ahead and get through those. So next game, 49ers at Chargers. Chargers are a 10.5-point favorite. The over-under is 46.5. Obviously, the big news here is Jimmy Garoppolo out for the season, torn ACL. That fucking sucks. I don't know, man. It's hard to be confident in really any 49ers here. But with CJ Beathard or Beathard or whatever the hell, however you pronounce it, with him at quarterback, who are you confident playing on this team?
Nobody really. Like Marquise Goodwin, I think can go right out the door. I think he's borderline droppable at this point because Beathard last year did not throw deep at all, and Goodwin makes his hay there. So I'm not loving that. I'd like to say Pierre would see an uptick in at least targets, but he has been just not good at all, even with Jimmy G at the quarterback helm. So I'm really worried about this offense. I really don't like anybody anymore.
Yeah. The only person who I'm still mildly interested in is Matt Breida, just because he's been prolific the past couple weeks. He hasn't done it on the most usage in the world, and that's worrisome, particularly when they'll be able to focus in more on him. But I think he'll kind of get the usage that a running back should, and you should never really count out a Kyle Shanahan running back. So Breida is pretty much the only one I'm looking to start. I'm out on George Kittle until we have more data on him, because he really didn't do all that much with Beathard last year, which is surprising because they were college teammates, so you think they would. But yeah, what do you think about Breida?
It's tough to like. His usage has been pretty much equal to Morris, and Morris has seen touchdown upside. So it is tough to say that Breida is like going to be a workhorse now. Like I could easily see it flipping to where Morris could see more of an uptick in fantasy opportunity. Just because I don't even know like what they would want to establish the run, but Breida is a different type of running back than Morris, and I think they would want to slow down some game script. So I think that more suits Morris's durability. But like that just makes like me explaining it just makes me hate both of them because they were already splitting to begin with Jimmy G at the quarterback helm, and Beathard comes in and just kind of ruins it all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them being able to slow shit down. I mean, I think the Chargers are just going to get out to a lead and kind of have to go from there. So that's why I'm more on Breida, I guess. Though you can make an argument, even with that Kyle Juszczyk will take some of like the passing down capabilities there.
Hell yeah, you will.
So maybe we'll talk about fantasy asset Kyle Juszczyk at some point this year. We're not quite there yet, but honestly, I don't think we're that far away. Let's move to the Chargers side of the ball. You're starting Phillip, you're starting Keenan, you're starting Melvin Gordon. And then I feel like you can start Mike Williams and Austin Eckler. Like that, I feel like it's pretty cut and dry here, right?
Yeah, that was very cut and dry. I would I really don't have much to add. I will just say that I am frustrated with myself for saying quarterback helm like 3 times in the last like 3 minutes. I was like, what the fuck are you saying? So I just wanted to get that out there because that bothered me. I'm sure that bothered a lot of people. Just like, what the fuck is he saying? That's just 2 words that are weird. Like over and over. Quarterback helm. Yes, she's Beathard at the quarterback helm. What a jerk off.
What would make you sound even better? Just saying it more and more.
Yeah.
Who's at the quarterback helm for the Chargers here, dude?
Sound like I'm talking like covering ESPN's Monday night. They are awful. Who's at the quarterback helm, Jason Witten? I have no idea.
Didn't Jason Witten say someone was in the red zone when they were on the 37-yard line this past week or some shit like that?
He hasn't been good, but So that's very possible. He's actually probably where I picked up quarterback helm.
Yeah, so blame Jason Witten for all of like the stupid shit that me and Vinny
I
say.
will. But
Um,
yeah, you're dead on with the Chargers offense. It's almost start everybody. I would say Gates, you don't have to play, but if you're a ballsy type of dude, possibly catches a touchdown.
yeah, and regarding the wide receiver split, because it's something that we talked about earlier in the year, Mike Williams has out targeted Tyrell Williams 15 to 11, and Mike Williams has 3 touchdowns, so he's a guy who they're looking to in the red zone. I think it's clear at this point that out of the two Williams, he's the guy to play.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose that bet to Don, like straight up. I'm pretty upset. Tyrell's
Yeah,
not doing shit.
I'm probably going to lose that Aaron Jones Jamal Williams one too, but I don't know.
That's what we,
Losing backs to Don just feels like really bad.
well, we forgot he's an idiot savant, so like we should have been smarter.
Yeah, I guess so. Um, anyway, I don't think we really have too much else on this one. Who you picking here?
I'm gonna take the Chargers and I'm gonna take the under too.
I'm going to take the Chargers in the over because I think the Chargers are going to put up like 38 points. Um,
Themselves, yeah, they might throw up 40.
yeah, just like a solid like 40 point like I'm trying to think what's like a football score that'll work.
They
But
score
like say like
38 and like the 49ers get in the end zone for just
yeah,
once.
like 38-10, like that kind of that kind of game where we
Hmm.
get the over and the Chargers win by 28 points.
Oh, speaking
Anyway,
of which, this is, kicker stuff, but Robbie Gould, take him out, pick somebody else
oh
up
yeah,
because their
yeah,
offense is
that's a
way less
very good
dynamic
point.
now.
Very good point. You want kickers in offenses that you think are going to score points, and we no longer think the Niners are going to score points. That's a good reminder to me because I have to do my waivers after this, and I have Robbie Gould on a
Oh,
team.
fuck. I shouldn't have said shit.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, what
Uh,
do we podcast for?
yeah, to remind each other about your kicker waivers. That's the only reason. Um, Let's move on to the Sunday night game. We've got Ravens at Steelers. The Steelers are a 3-point favorite. Over under here is 51 points. The AFC North has like historically been like, cold divisional
Low
matchups
scoring.
and defense and whatever. And now we got an over under of 51. And I think it's well warranted. Both of these offensives have been pretty spectacular this year so far. Let's start on the Ravens side of the ball. We mentioned Joe Flacco earlier as someone who you might be able to play and you're going to have to grit your teeth and, you know, that sort of thing. But like, man, like, I think you can play him pretty easily. Like, I think he's in a decent spot here. Are you down with the Flacco?
I'm not down, but I understand why you are down. I don't think it's ever easy to play Flacco, but in this matchup, it's looking pretty good. I think if you're a guy that had Jimmy G and a lot of guys are taken up, Flacco's most certainly out on the waivers. So if you're at the bottom of the barrel for waivers, Flacco's certainly there. Um, that might become more of an easier situation, but with other guys out there, Flacco's still at the bottom tier for me as far as streamers. But yeah, with this over under, they should put up some points big time.
Okay. And let's talk about his number one pass catcher, John Brown, who has had 19 targets over the past 2 weeks. I think he's pretty much an auto start. Unless you have like solid wide receivers over him, I think he should be playing John Brown.
Yeah, I agree. One thing to note, he was not in full pads and didn't practice, so he was just out catching passes on the practice field. So uh, in like street clothes, so not the greatest sign. And I'm not really sure what the injury is, but it's something to definitely keep tabs on because should John Brown miss, Crabtree becomes a must play, and then Willie Snead becomes very interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. If John Brown does play, are you still in on Crabtree?
Um, Crabtree hasn't really taken off, but I think at some point in like a game like this, Crabtree could sneak in a touchdown. So I think he's warranted to start.
Yeah, his floor's still been there too. He's gotten at least 10 targets in each of the past 2 games. So him and Brown are pretty much being targeted equally. The difference being that Brown has more valuable targets. He's been getting targeted more on deep passes, and he's been able to get in the end zone. Let's talk about this running back split, and it really has been pretty much an even split between Alex Collins and between Buck Allen. Buck Allen has managed to fall into the end zone at least once for each of the past 3 weeks, which, as an Alex Collins owner, like, God damn,
I
Alex.
want to
Like,
scream.
when you watch the Ravens and you watch Alex Collins run, you're like, man, that guy's good. He's making people miss. He's like hitting guys and they're bouncing off of him. And then you watch Buck Allen. Buck Allen doesn't have more than 44 yards in a single game. Like, that's passing and rushing combined. So, like, what the fuck are we doing with giving him half the snaps, getting him red zone touches? Like, Alex Collins is, if you gave Alex Collins, like, the kind of workload that a guy like Todd Gurley is getting, I think Alex Collins would be a top 10 running back in the NFL. But we're not. We're giving half the work to Buck Allen, who is like the same amount of meh as Lamar Miller. It's just like maybe even more meh than Lamar Miller. But that being said, what do we do with this, given the fact that they are splitting pretty evenly?
I'm having a really tough time as like a Collins owner, like across most of my leagues, and it's driving me nuts because Alex Collins, like we wouldn't even be talking about this right now if Alex Collins got those touchdowns for sure, because he would have about fucking 5 to 7 of them right now. So it's in the first 3 fucking weeks. All they have to do is feed this guy at the goal line or give him 18 plus carries in one game. And I think this could potentially be the one because these games tend to be a little more gritty than they appear on paper. But with the over and under 51, I think you can at least be comfortable with Collins getting some goal line opportunities. But we have seen Buck take them for no apparent reason whatsoever, which makes Collins hard to sit and Buck sort of enticing if you're having a difficult time at the running back situation, like if you drafted Bell or something like that, and he was definitely a waiver ad for you. So I think both are playable. It's just, man, is it tough to read what they're going to do, but they're both guys you could play.
Yeah, it's annoying and it's very frustrating. But in a game with this many points expected to be scored, I think Collins is an RB2, and I think Buck Allen is a flex. I think he should be pretty comfortable playing both of them in this week. And if you're playing Buck Allen, just hope he falls into the end zone again. But yeah, it's worth noting on the Ravens front that Hayden Hurst returned to practice. I don't think he's going to play this week, but they have thrown a lot to tight ends. It's just been to a bunch of different tight ends. And if Hayden Hurst comes back and starts getting all of the snaps, then that's something to keep in mind. So keep that at the very, very back burner of your mind. Do not put it to the front.
Dennis Pitta revived. Hayden
Dennis
Hurst.
Pitta, Franken Pitta, back from the dead.
Right.
No. That should be his nickname, Franken Pitta, if he comes out and starts having catches where he gets 11 targets for 8 catches and 67 yards. Just Franken Pitta. Anyway.
Yeah, we should only refer to him as Franken Pitta and never explain who it is.
Way to alienate new listeners. Good job, guys. All
Yeah,
right.
fuck him.
Steelers side of the ball. Play every single person.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just ask you who's your preferred tight end play because I would lean Vance McDonald.
Yeah, I think it's Vance McDonald. I don't think it's particularly close. He was coming off an injury in the first couple of games of the year, and it seems like he's the guy. Well, we know he's the more dynamic pass catcher when fully healthy, and it seems like he's the guy that will be running more routes, getting more targets, that sort of thing going forward. So when I say play everyone, I don't mean Jesse James. I mean Ben. I mean Brown, Smith-Schuster, Connor, and Vance McDonald.
Yes, correct. Yeah, they should all be very good.
Cool. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to take the Ravens and the over.
All right, I'm going to go Steelers, also over.
I like it.
All right, on to the Monday night game, which is also the highest over-under of the week. Chiefs at Broncos. Chiefs are road favorites, 5-point favorite. Over under is 56 points. Um, what else can you really say about the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes? This is another one where it's just such an easy play everyone game, right?
Yeah, it's tough to like, dude. I got Sammy Watkins played against me the other week, and I was like, oh god, he's gonna catch a touchdown. Lo and behold, he catches a touchdown. It's yeah, it's really roll everybody out straight
Yeah,
up.
I
Mahomes,
think
Hunt, Hill, Watkins, Kelsey, all of them.
yeah, it's worth noting that Kareem Hunt has been losing work on passing downs and in the 2 minute drill to Spencer Ware and Damian Williams. But like in a game like this, you just need to keep playing him. The touchdown equity is very high. And at some point he's gonna, break a big play, that kind of thing, which he hasn't really done yet this season. But
He
yeah,
doesn't have to.
yeah, I mean, you're playing Mahomes, you're playing Kelsey, you're playing Tyreek Hill, you're playing Watkins, you're playing Kareem Hunt. Um, yeah, that's like pretty much it, I guess. But like it's so easy with the Chiefs right now. It's just so easy.
Yeah, they're disgusting. I was actually watching the replay of their game before we started podcasting against oh my god, who I'm spacing on them. Oh, the 49ers. They just, dude, they line up and you're like, this play could go to anybody and it's going to be a first down. Like any of the people they have out there. And you can see like the way they line up, you're just like, this is going to happen. And they just shred people. They have too many playmakers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the Broncos side of the ball, I think it's a play everyone game too. Case Keenum is a great streamer. Emmanuel Sanders has been efficient as fuck this year. Demarius Thomas hasn't, but he's gotten 26 targets over the first 3 weeks, which leads the team. You're not going to sit a guy who's getting, what is that? 8 targets a game, 8.5 targets a game. In this sort of matchup and with this high of an over under, you just can't do it. And then Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, I think, are both great plays too. Philip Lindsay was disappointing this past week, but that's just because he started punching dudes from the bottom of the pile and got ejected.
I think he thought he was on like a deeper pile than he was, and he was just like basically like exposed to everybody, just throwing like these little ratty punches. They're just like, dude, what are you doing? Get out of here.
Yeah. But am I wrong there that all of them are playable?
No, definitely. Case Keenum is one of my favorite streamers this week. Dude, going against the Chiefs is the best thing you can ask for. Positive game script. Their defense is ass. So, like, Case Keenum should be throwing it out there. DT's going to have a great game. Sanders going to have an awesome game. Royce Freeman is difficult to trust, but, like, he's been getting into the end zone, and they are kind of working their way to a split between him and Lindsey, and that makes them both playable every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here's the last guy that I said I thought was in Cody Latimer, Mohamed Sanu territory, Courtland Sutton. He's the third wide receiver for the Broncos. He's been running on the outside most of the time. Only 5 catches to start the season, but he's out there for almost all the snaps. He's running routes. They're throwing the ball to him, but he hasn't quite really gotten the efficiency. He hasn't gotten the catches yet. And in this really favorable matchup, there's a chance that Courtland Sutton breaks a big game.
I like the call, but I would never make the play.
Oh no, he's a bargain basement DFS tournament play.
Yeah, that's also a guy I would like player prop, throw like a touchdown on and just be like, he'll catch a touchdown.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing where if you're in, a 10-team league, a 12-team league, maybe even a 14-team league, like, fuck no, stay away. There's no reason to do it. The guy has 5 catches in 3 games. But if you need a dirt cheap wide receiver to complete your roster in the Millie Maker this week, hey, Courtland Sutton, that's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, we've said worse things on today's podcast, so yeah.
Oh yeah, I've said dumber things within the past 20 minutes for sure.
Yeah, that was yeah, definitely, and like just the shootout mentality, straight up.
I started this podcast by saying to play Dallas Goedert at tight end.
Yeah, I tried to shoot that down, but we have not changed pace, man. And just like so many people at the quarterback helm, like it's just a good podcast.
There's just a lot of helms and a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of QBs at the quarterback helm.
We
So yeah,
talked about so many lame ass wide receiver threes. Like it's
yeah,
just been brutal.
yeah, absolutely. So listen to us. No, I mean you guys get it at this point. It's a play everyone game, so there are people who you can kind of take a swing on and see if it works out. Cortland Sutton's one of those people. Um, yeah, I guess the last thing to do is pick this one. Who you got?
Oh, I would like to take the Broncos in an upset, but I'm not going to do that. Chiefs over.
Yeah, I'm not betting against Pat Mahomes until like he gives me a reason to bet against him.
Correct.
All right. We have some questions. Let me pull them up on my phone here. Um, all right. So, first question here, Fitzpatrick or Philip Rivers?
Philip Rivers, easy.
Yep, same to me. Second question is not a question. It just says thanks to y'all. I'm 3-0. Thank you. That's good to hear. The guy's also his name is Bitch I'm Clo. All right. Cool. Anyway, next question from MVP Gunny. Trade for oh wait. God damn. Shrek, you gotta send me this guy's question doesn't finish. Um yeah, I don't think we can answer that. This is what happens when you get questions on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. Next
Wait.
question. Sorry, what's up?
No, I think he just put periods at the end because he's not sure. So it says trade Melvin Gordon, Marvin Jones, and Jack Doyle for Keenan Allen, Carlos Hyde, and Travis, I would assume
I
Kelsey.
would guess Kelsey. Yeah. Okay. So he's trying to trade Gordon Jones and Jack Doyle for Keenan Allen, Carlos Hyde, and Travis Kelsey. I think I'd do
You're
that.
you're upgrading at everything but running back.
Yeah.
But I like it, and I feel like that's an even one. So if you're looking to level out your team, I think that's not the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, definitely. I think you win that trade, MVP Gunny. Next question: Carson Wentz or Deshaun Watson this week? Vin, who you got there?
I'm gonna go to Sean Watson.
I'm also going to go Watson. Next question from Ronaldo De Bruyne. Uh, Lynch or Alex Collins for running back two, and then Keelan Cole or Jamal Williams in the flex.
Fuck. So I'm gonna lean Collins just because we talked about the high over under and touchdown potential, and just like Collins could easily have more touchdowns than he does. So this game
Same.
would certainly be one where he could get it. More so than Lynch's like fluky 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Um,
The next part sucks.
yeah, that part sucks. Man, you know what? Fuck it. I would go Jamal Williams. Hope he falls in the end zone because I don't trust Cole.
I think PPR I go Cole. I think standard I go Williams. That's a fucking cop out answer. I don't want to say that. Um, but whatever. I'm gonna say it. The
There you
other one I
go.
think we answered last podcast, and then oh yeah, Shrek said bottom right is a repeat. All right, cool. We're figuring this all out on the air. And then one more question here from My Beard Wins on Instagram. Who are a few of your favorite DFS value plays this week? This is tough because I haven't really delved too deep into prices yet. Um, but I think we talked about. I mean, like in
A
terms of some of
lot.
the bottom basement wide receivers, we definitely gave you some of them, and like this is tournament plays. This isn't like I'm trying to like grind head to heads or like play doubles up, like double ups rather. Like I'm not recommending you play Cortland Sutton in a head to head against a random person. Um, but Cortland Sutton, I think, is one that would be interesting for sure. Um, we talked about Cody Latimer. What were some others that we had here?
I would say higher level guys like Mike Williams is a good play.
Taylor Gabriel.
Taylor Gabriel for sure. His target share is insane, and probably the most preferred matchup that he's had so far. Definitely that one. We talked about Sanu a lot.
I
He's
like
definitely a
Antonio
guy.
Callaway also.
Callaway. If Boyd is Tyler Boyd is priced lower than he should be, definitely Tyler Boyd. He works in very favorable, especially with the green news. So I wonder how they priced him. But yeah, you're right. Wish we sort of priced this out. But yeah, these are some names that we can just rattle off.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like or look running back, that kind of thing. I feel like it's harder to find value running backs, but depending on their prices, Sony Michel and James White would probably be value guys this week. Geo is probably priced too high to really be considered a value. Um hmm. What else? Yeah. This is tough because I normally don't even really look at like DFS prices until Friday when I start building lineups, but um at tight end, definitely Dallas Goddard. Uh,
Fair enough. I'll bend the knee to that one.
um,
Oh,
realistic.
Quincy and Nunwa is a sneaky if you're trying to get one up on like a tournament, I think, because seeing work over the slot for the Jags, like you see the Jags and you're like, that sucks. But as we talked about in the last podcast, the most work will get done against the Jags over the middle. So it's an
Yeah,
interesting one.
probably pretty low owned. You are correct there. Um, other than that, I just had one, and what was it? Oh,
Ted Ginn too.
Vance McDonald might be an interesting tight end play. I don't think he's probably very high priced.
Oh, also Rhett Ellison, if we're talking tight end plays too.
Wait, what?
Ellison, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You don't think so?
Uh, I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. If Sterling Shepard is cheap too, that's a great play.
Ooh, yeah, also that.
All right. Well, we're thinking on our feet here, Vinny. We're
For
getting some
sure.
answers out there. Again, these are all without having really looked at prices. We're kind of just guessing who's going to be low priced and going from there. But if it comes down to it, what we can do is, and what we probably should do is probably, uh, my friend on Instagram, we will get you a written answer later in the week once we've actually really looked at this shit. um, so keep an eye out for that. Uh, Vinny, what do you want to leave the people with going into week 4?
Embrace for the worst. This is this is going to be a fun week,
Oh
but
wow,
like this is a turning point. Like every fourth week of the season, just a drastic change happens because week one is insane. Week two, we try to overcorrect. Week three is stupid. Week four, we start to see like maybe some patterns develop, and then it starts to turn into something we can kind of figure out season long and matchups that are true as opposed to like fluky plays. So this is definitely a turning point throughout the NFL season, especially for fantasy, certain players. So buckle down for the long haul, prepare for the worst, brave the storm that is week 4. But it should the matchups are pretty neat. I like all the games. I hope they would all be close, but we did go through some disasters, so I really don't know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
There are a handful of shootouts that I think should happen. Saints Giants should be a shootout. Uh, Bengals Falcons shootout, and then the Sunday night game shootout.
The night games are all
Between
pretty sick this week, which is awesome. I'm
yes,
very I'm very pumped on those. The Thursday, Sunday, though by the time you're listening to this, Thursday will have already happened. But Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, I think are all very cool games. Should be a ton of fun. And I think you're right where like this was the first week when I was doing my research, I was like, okay, like this is the first week I've brought in DVOA in terms of like stats or that sort of thing. Cause it's like, okay, now we have 3 games. We have something that we can try and fit into a pattern, something we can try and fit into a narrative, and we can try and actually figure out what's happening with these teams as opposed to just kind of blindly guessing and hoping we're correct. So we're starting to get to that point where we can look at this year's statistics and really have an idea of what's going on. And I think that's really exciting. I think you're right where this week is probably like hopefully the last week of just like, oh man, we're gonna get blindsided by a bunch of weird shit. But but we'll see what happens. After that, hopefully we can have some more precise types of things based on what's happened this year, as opposed to based on sort of conjecture. You got anything else,
also
Vin?
I was just saying this is kind of the week where you start to panic or not panic because
Yes.
your team is either like 0-4 or like 1-3 after this week. So this is when we start, delving more into trade opportunities or guys who are you're looking to target long range or people you want to sell and dump off. So we definitely start talking more trade throughout, like, weeks 4+, things like that. It's just, this is where you start to get more settled in and ready for the long haul. Like, either your team is good and you're okay, you're not sure what your team is yet, or you're just fucking bad. So this is the clarity week for you, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. The clarity week, the week of clarity. Um, yeah, that's it. That'll do us for the week 4 preview. We hope you guys enjoyed. We hope you guys have an excellent week 4. We will be back with the week 4 recap. That'll be hitting your phones, hitting your podcast apps on Wednesday morning of next week. And yeah, best of luck, guys. For Vinny, I am Walsh. This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Later, podcast.